8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Soundithavam. The Prime Minister says the government was able to implement each village as self-sufficient village successfully. The Indian Petronet LNG company has come forward to produce the necessary liquid natural gas as a short-term plan for the distribution through the CEB. The Plantation Ministry says the present issues of estate sector will be resolved after the discussion with the President. Qatar Airways introduces its 5th daily frequency Colombo, effective from tomorrow. Sri Lanka's consumer inflation eases in May 2023. The Health Ministry's Directorate of NCDs to launch investigative unit. Egypt's High Commissioner for Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Majdi Moslem, met the Navy Commander, Vice Admiral Priyantha Pereira, recently. In news overseas, Titanic tourist submarine missing, underwater noises detected. In sports soccer, Man City agree £30 million deal for Chelsea's Kovacic. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says the government was able to implement each village as a self-sufficient village successfully. This project is carried out as a joint effort with the support of other line ministries. The Premier made these comments at a function today to declare open a new building of the Maduravala Pradeshya Sabha. With the construction of the new building, the general public of the area will mostly benefit through the flexible process of the government service. Meanwhile, the Premier gave away 738 land titles to the residents of Maduravala, Badurelya and Valalavita. Addressing the audience at this occasion, the Premier said, the government's objective is to create each and every village as a self-sufficient village. The government is in the process of providing necessary tools, equipment, technology, know-how and other financial assistance to make this project a success. Sri Lanka's inflation based on the National Consumer Price Index (NCPI) for May 2023 was recorded at 22.1% as measured by the year-on-year change, the Department of Census and Statistics revealed in its latest report. This marks a slight drop in comparison to the headline inflation of 33.6% recorded in April 2023. In comparison to 2022, the reported inflation for the month of May 2023 was mainly due to the higher price levels that prevailed in both food and non-food groups. On a monthly basis, the year-on-year inflation of the food group dropped to 15.8% in May from 27.1% in April 2023. Meanwhile, the year-on-year inflation of the non-food group decreased to 27.6% in May 2023 from 39% in April 2023. The contributions year-on-year to the inflation recorded in May 2023 from the food commodities and the non-food group stood at 7.2% and 14.88% respectively in comparison to March 2022. An investigative unit has been established by the Directorate of the Non-Communicable Disease of the Ministry of Health in order to probe the recent traffic accidents that have taken place in the island. Speaking in this regard, consultant community physician Dr. Samit Siritunga pointed out that nearly 1 million people receive inpatient care in Sri Lanka's public hospitals due to accidents. This is not a problem only in Sri Lanka, but also across the world. If we talk about Sri Lanka, nearly 3 to 4 million injuries that require medical attention are caused by accidents every year, he emphasized. Moreover, Dr. Siritunga also noted that when considering the number of deaths caused by accidents, nearly 10,000 to 12,000 deaths are being reported per year, with an average of nearly 32 to 35 deaths being reported per day. Expressing his concerns in this regard, Dr. Siritunga explained that as the Directorate of NDC, they have decided to investigate each of these accidents in order to determine a cause. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. A decision was taken at the Plantation Ministry Advisory Committee meeting to discuss the issues and the present activities of the estate sector with the President. The Ministry's Advisory Committee meeting was held recently under the chairmanship of Minister Ramesh Patirana. It is reported that the estate public is showing interest in other crops and technologies rather than the traditional tea and rubber cultivation. This has been noticed as the latest trend in the estate sector. The people's representatives who were present at this meeting pointed out that lack of facilities, low salary and high expenses are the main reasons for the estate workforce to divert to other employment fields. There is no proper mechanism to monitor these problems. Minister Ramesh Pathiran assured that a feasible solution will be provided to these issues after the discussion with President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Egypt's High Commissioner for Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Majd Moslem, met the Navy Commander, Vice Admiral Priyantha Pereira, recently. The meeting focused on many matters, including strengthening the bilateral ties of the two countries and maritime affairs. An exchange of mementos between the two dignitaries was also occurred at this occasion. The Indian Petronet LNG company has come forward to produce necessary liquid natural gas as a short-term plan for the distribution through the CEB. A discussion in this regard was held at the Ministry of Power and Energy under the chairmanship of Minister Kanchana Wijesekara. Senior officials of the CEB were also present at this occasion. It is expected to establish a LNG plant to produce 600 megawatts of electricity in the future. The project is expected to be completed within 24 months. The project will be implemented with minimum cost. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara thanked the Indian High Commissioner Gopal Bagle for initiating this type of projects in Sri Lanka. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Qatar Airways introduces its fifth daily frequency to and from Colombo effective from tomorrow. The additional frequency will offer connectivity to over 160 destinations worldwide. At present, Qatar Airways handles approximately 21,000 passengers per week at the Bandaranaike International Airport. The Airport and Aviation Services Sri Lanka Private Limited is happy to facilitate the increase in frequencies of Qatar Airways, which contributes to the development of the country, and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight, a comprehensive program has been established to conduct regular inspections of institutions and premises for dengue control in the Western Province. The program, recommended by the Dengue Control Western Provincial Subcommittee, aims to mitigate the spread of dengue fever and was appointed by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Under this initiative, specific inspection days have been assigned for different types of establishments. Private schools, government schools, preschools, private educational institutions and higher educational institutions, universities period, will be inspected every Monday. Construction sites will be examined on Wednesdays, factories on Tuesdays, other private institutions on Thursdays, and other government institutions on Fridays. Additionally, houses, gardens and religious shrines will undergo inspections on weekends, with houses and gardens on Saturdays and religious shrines on Sundays. Institutions requiring inspections on different days are encouraged to inform the Office of the Responsible Medical Officer of Health for necessary arrangements, and came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to a bulletin of world news making headlines tonight. China lashes back as Biden labels Xi a dictator. Titanic tourist submarine missing, underwater noises detected. Swiss President Basset says he will quit government at the end of 2023. China hit back today after US President Joe Biden referred to President Xi Jinping as a dictator, saying the comments were absurd and a provocation in an unexpected spat immediately following efforts by both sides to lower tensions. Biden's comment came just a day after top US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visited Beijing to stabilize bilateral relations that China says are at their lowest point since formal ties were established. The US Coast Guard on Wednesday said that search teams have detected underwater sounds while searching for a tourist submersible that disappeared with 5 individuals on board during a deep-sea expedition to explore the wreckage of the Titanic. Canadian P-3 aircraft reported the detection of the sounds. In response, undersea search operations were redirected to the area. However, despite these efforts, there have been no signs of the missing vessel. The submersible, named Titan, was a 21-foot-long pilot-driven vessel operated by US-based company Ocean Gate Expeditions. Swiss President Alain Berset announced today that he will quit after the government at the end of 2023 in a surprise move after 12 years in government roles. 51-year-old Alain Berset, who is serving the country's annually rotating presidency for a second time, told a press conference in the capital Bern that he had told his colleagues on the 7-member Federal Council government that he was planning to quit the council at the end of the year. And back to the headlines of the world news. China lashes back as Biden labels Xi a dictator. Titanic tourist submarine missing, underwater noises detected. Swiss President Berset says he will quit government at the end of 2023. That concludes World News.
Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
The United States Agency for International Development USAID and Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority recently launched a new strategy to re-energize the critical tourism sector by promoting a dozen new sustainable niche tourism categories. From adventure tourism and cultural experiences to hosted curated experiences and wellness and healing, these categories are set to enhance Sri Lanka's tourism offerings and attract more global travelers. The new sustainable niche tourism strategy will be a catalyst to help further boost Sri Lanka's tourism sector and bolster the country's economic recovery, said Gabriel Groh, USAID Mission Director to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, at a special event to launch the new strategy. That came to you in Development News.
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housekeepers, home cooks, caretakers and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 500 500.
On to sports, it's soccer. Mateo Kovacic is close to joining Manchester City after they agreed a deal with Chelsea worth up to £30 million. The Croatia midfielder, 29, is set to join the Premier League champions for an initial fee of £25 million, with £5 million in potential add-ons. Chelsea are continuing to sell players as they look to trim their large squad for new manager Mauricio Pochettino. That's sports news. We look at business news next.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapuhina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The new Ampara branch, located at number 3 New City, Mahaldi, Senanayaka Street, Ampara, was ceremonially opened by Vision Care's chairman, Dasanta Fonseca, and managing director, Janaka Fonseca, amidst a gathering of Vision Care staff members, special invitees, and well-wishers. The Kalmone branch, located at number 159/1, 163 Tablik Complex, Main Street, Kalmune, was also officially declared open the following day. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapuhina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, the government has decided to extend the lease period of the Regional Plantations Companies, RPCs, said State Minister of Plantation Industries Lohan Ratwatte yesterday. He said that the time frame of the lease period is yet to be decided, but it would be long-term. The RPCs were introduced in 1992 for a period of 50 years, and the companies still have over 20 years of the current lease to expire. The State Minister also said that steps will be taken to curb the violence in some of the estates manned by plantation companies and law and order would be maintained and tough disciplinary action would be taken against offenders. That's economic news.
Weather report.
The Met Department says that several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northern provinces and in the Galle, Matara and Puttalam districts. A few showers will occur in the north-central province and in the Kurunegala district. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Ampara and Batticaloa districts during the evening or night. Strong winds about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in the western slopes of the Central Hills, North-Central Province and in the Puttalam, Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The Prime Minister says the government was able to implement each village as self-sufficient village successfully. The Indian Petronet LNG company has come forward to produce the necessary liquid natural gas as a short-term plan for the distribution through the CEB. The Plantation Ministry says the present issues of the estate sector will be resolved after discussions with the President. Qatar Airways introduces its fifth daily frequency, Colombo, effective from tomorrow. Sri Lanka's consumer inflation eases in May 2023. The Health Ministry's Directorate of NCDs to launch investigative unit. Egypt's High Commissioner for Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Majdi Mosleh, met the Navy Commander Vice Admiral Priyanth Pereira recently. Titanic tourist submarine missing, underwater noises detected. And Man City agreed £30 million deal for Chelsea's Kovacic. With that, we conclude tonight's news broadcast.